Of ongoing stories, paying attention, as Tommy likes to do in his radio show, but really carries the vision in his paper. And with the aspect of the Valley Patriot of the Month, honoring men and women who have served, who have sacrificed, who have returned back to their communities. And Tommy goes out of the way to ensure that they get the very front page of a paper, which is very admirable this day and age. So to Tommy, a great round of applause. This evening we have a couple of awards, and I'm going to start off with Sergeant Major Eric Nelson, United States Army retired. After 25 years of service in the United States Army, he's now spending his second career at Valley Works Career Center in Lawrence, helping other veterans find jobs and connecting employers with people who are looking for opportunities. He was part of the 82nd Airborne Division, and he was part of the 56th Medical Evacuation Battalion Air Ambulance Fort Bragg, 3rd Military Intelligence Battalion. In 2003, Sergeant Major Nelson was an Aviation Mission Operations Manager for the 4th Aviation Brigade stationed at Baghdad, Iraq. During that mission, he trained over 300 personnel on convoy operations with no combat accidents or injuries. Nelson was awarded the Bronze Star Medal for numerous other awards and decorations. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to present Sergeant Major Eric Nelson the Valiant Patriot Hero Award. Thank you. And he's joined by his wife, Juliet. John Radka is the Executive Director of the Veterans Northeast Outreach Center. Following his distinguished 26 years career in the United States Navy, John enlisted in the Navy in 1972. He completed 21 submarine deployments, numerous surface ship deployments, and attained the rank of Command Master Chief. John's major tours of duties include Command Master Chief Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, Command Master Chief Submarine Squadron 22, Command Master Chief Naval Air Station Luxhurst, New Jersey Chief of the boat USS Alaska. John was appointed to the position of Executive Director of the Veterans Northeast Outreach Center in Haverhill in October of 2002. Under his leadership, they established great partnerships with the Veterans Administration, Bedford VA Hospital, and the Massachusetts Department of Veteran Services, Housing and Community Development, the Department of Housing and Urban Development Veteran Service officers, and many of the local community agencies. John and his two sons, Ryan and Jacob, reside in Salem, New Hampshire. A great round of applause for John Radka. J.T. Torres enlisted in the United States Marines in 1987. He spent 10 years in service and accumulated numerous service medals. After serving in Desert Storm, Desert Shields, and Operation Iraqi Freedom. We would read his accomplishments all day, but most importantly, JT is receiving the award tonight because he is the president and founder of New England Veterans Liberty House. After returning with his battle of post-traumatic stress, JT could not have walked away from the military and have gone to live his life doing something else. But JT spent his days every day helping veterans with counseling, job training, housing, and getting them the help and services he needs. Let's give a round of applause for J.T. Torres. Veterans helping veterans. Tommy, I have a note here to give the mic to Mike Strange. I see a Vietnam veteran. Do we have any other Vietnam veterans in the midst? Any other Vietnam veterans? So I'm going to step down below. And let me tell you something, and I hope our microphone doesn't scream here. So when our Vietnam veterans did not get the welcome home that my generation of veterans received, Our Vietnam veterans did not get the welcome home that the previous generations before them received. And so tonight and each and every time that I have the opportunity to talk to our Vietnam vets, I want to tell them thank you so much for your service, and I want to tell them welcome home. And tonight, Richard Russell, thank you. Thank you very much. Let's hear it. So on behalf of a grateful nation, I want to present to you the 50th anniversary commemoration pin to a Vietnam veteran. And it's not just for Richard Russell, for all the great things he does in the community. This we want to ensure that we give to each and every Vietnam veteran that we know. Richard, step over here so I don't get a screaming microphone. And it has a message on the back, and it says, on behalf of a grateful nation that thanks you and honors you. Thank you for your service and welcome home. To all of our veterans, thank you so very much for your service to our country. And to the family of our veterans, thank you so much, because we know that when veterans serve, their families too served, their family also sacrificed. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Francisco. Everybody stay up here. Don't go anywhere. Our next speaker is was a member of the Middlesex County Sheriff's Department. He now does security for Donald Trump. And he's a really good friend. He's a guy that calls me once a week to tell me what's going on in law enforcement. He's also a guy that goes out of his way to help veterans. And he has something that he wants to say about another veteran who's also a final veteran of the night that's going to get an award. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Strange.
Thank you, Tommy. And I would be remiss if I didn't make mention of your dad's sacrifice. What a wonderful way to honor his legacy. I'd also be remiss. You made a great point about the media, Tom. And I was really taken aback, and Mr. Secretary, I know you would agree with this. Today, all of the major news agencies reported that it was National Waffle Day, but not one mentioned that it was National Medal of Honor Day. That is pathetic. We must never, whether it's a veteran who serves, whether it's a police officer who serves and is injured or killed in the line of duty, we must never forget what they do for all of us. That is singly the most important thing that we as a society can do and remember. So a few weeks ago, I talked to Tommy and I said, you know, the final days are coming towards the bash, and gee, we kind of overlooked one guy. He said, what do you mean? And I said, well, there's this terrific veteran that I know who I, as a businessman now, formerly from the Sheriff's Department, I help veterans any way I can when I'm asked. And I work very closely with the next recipient. He graduated high school in 2004, and in 2006 enlisted with the National Guard here in Massachusetts. He went into active duty serving tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Made us proud. In 2012, while operating a Buffalo, which is a mine-sweeping vehicle, the vehicle struck an IED and blew up. He was injured severely, traumatic brain injury, had injuries to his knees, his legs. He came home here for medical treatment, spent 7 months in a medical hospital in Virginia. When he got released, that wasn't all for him. Going home wasn't good enough. He needed to go back, and he needed to continue to serve, so he did. And on April the 15th, 2013, he was assigned as an explosive ordnance engineer to the Boston Marathon. And we all know what happened that day. Ladies and gentlemen, these guys see bombs and they run towards them. Think about that. Many people serve, and then there are those who go, not to diminish anybody's service, but there are those who go above and way beyond. Who in this room would want to run towards a bomb? None of us. So he served through that era and then came out and he, continued to deal with many issues having to do with the PTSD that many veterans, 22 veterans a day we lose to suicide from PTSD. Yes. So Donnie said, well, I'm not going to sulk and I'm not going to cry over spilled milk. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to become active. And so he did. And I can't tell you how many times my phone will ring and he'll say, hey, I know a veteran who needs some help with this or that. And we do what we can do. I can think of a day a little over a year ago where one of the guys that served in Iraq, I believe, with Donnie, took his life. Sadly, he had an 18-year-old son, and it was on a day when the Massachusetts State Police were conducting a major training mission. The T Police were involved. They were at Logan Airport. And we couldn't get an honor guard to be at the gate of the airport. And Secretary, I called your office, and you were out and about in the western part of the state, I think. I called up to the governor's office. I said, somebody, you got to get a hold of the secretary. And somebody in your office said, what do you got? You got any other ideas? And I called Major Christensen at the airport. And he said, gee, we have this training thing, but you know Colonel McGinn over at the Environmental Police. See if you can get some of his guys. And so we did. Colonel McGinn graciously said, you can have anything you want. And the state police that were at the airport that were working the terminals showed up with the Environmental Police to greet the family as they came off the plane, carrying the remains of their loved one, their dad. And they continued to give a full controlled motorcade to the home, which was beautiful and meant so much to the family. And that was due to Donnie and his persistence, and we can't let this slip through the cracks. Moving on, Donnie has been very active with so many causes, and I know, Mr. Secretary, we've gone to the Celtics game, we've been to the Red Sox game where we've taken homeless veterans. And every time, it started out it was 10 veterans or 15, and then it doubled to 30. And now, through Donnie's affiliation, you can see he's got his dog Mocha with him. Mocha is a PTSD service dog. Mocha does wonderful things. Service dogs, they're wonderful to veterans. And the programs that fund these dogs, they can cost $10,000 per dog. Any of you that ever have an opportunity to contribute and to give to these causes is just a wonderful cause. And I highly encourage Delta Dog. We actually have some cards. Donnie has some cards with him. And if you want to find out some information about Delta Dog, he has that here with him. On June 14th, on Flag Day this year, and I believe, Mr. Secretary, you're going with us for the trip. That's right. We are going to bring, I think, 30 veterans. Are they homeless veterans from the shelter, or are they're Delta Dog veterans? We're going to be bringing them to and I got to be honest, the Boston Red Sox, our sports team's just wonderful organization, very classy. The Boston Red Sox have been fantastic. Any of you that want to go to the game, we have reduced cost tickets, and a portion of the proceeds go to Operation Delta Dog. There'll be all kinds of special events that day. It's going to be a wonderful time. And again, Donnie has the information. Couple of other real quick things. In the town of Newbury where Donnie resides, he's the Veterans Graves Registration Officer. And last year, while taking inventory of the graves, he found a cemetery, a complete cemetery that was absolutely overgrown. There were trees coming up out of headstones. There were veterans' graves that had gone unattended for years, decades, some of them. And Donnie said, this is unacceptable and I'm going to do something about it. So what did he do? He got out a saw, a hand saw, because they wouldn't allow him to operate a chainsaw there. And he cut down every overgrown brush, every piece of grass by hand until people started to pay attention and said, this guy's on to something, let's help him. And the students at Triton Regional High School came out, and it ended up being just a wonderful story. Everything Donald has done has been recognized by the Boston Globe, national news media. I know he was on Chronicle with Mocha. I can't think of a more fitting recipient for this award than you, Donald. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for everything you continue to do. God bless you, man. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all for your service. Excellent.
Okay, this is the final event, and then we're going to have, this is the final award, then we're going to have the Beach Street Bombers come out. Hopefully you guys will stick around and have a drink. I'm off the wagon until tomorrow, so I'm going to be drinking with you. The after party will be at the bar after the Beach Street Bombers are done. This final award is called the Officer Tom Duggan Memorial Hero Public Safety Award. Can I have the Duggan family, please? Auntie Dottie, Uncle Frankie, Justice, the Bones, your family, please come. Please come up. Can we also have any Lawrence firefighters in the room, please come up?